It's happening. AWS Green Event 2022. Yes, it's 2022. It's not 2023 yet. I am Kyle Dickinson, one of your hosts, senior solution architect with threat detection and incident response. And I am joined by Brian Terry, who's right next to me.
Hey, I'm excited here to be at Green Event 2022. My name is Brian Terry, and I'm a senior solution architect focusing on ISP integrations. And I think we have an exciting talk today, don't we, guys?
For sure.
Mary, please introduce yourselves.
I will, thanks. So I'm Mary Wilson, and I'm the Global Sustainability Lead from the Partner Org. And I have the great pleasure of working with amazing organizations that are helping our customers, helping organizations, helping governments as they look to how do we become more sustainable? How do we look at these solutions that are going to enable sustainable enterprises? And so really excited today that Evan is with us from Altana, which is one of our partners up and coming, really exciting space. So I'm excited to be here and participating in the session. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Evan, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what Altana does for sustainability and how it's going to be impacting how we can better the future of technology.
Well, hopefully we can work on tech and real world outcomes at the same time. So what we're doing at Altana is we're building a live, dynamic, intelligent map of the world's supply chain. And the reason that matters for sustainability is the real scope of impact for any given business that's making or distributing physical things is primarily in the supply chain. And it's primarily a function of what's happening, not just in their own operation to make things, but in the extended network of manufacturing or raw materials production, where the climate or ecological or labor rights impacts are felt.
So I think this is super interesting for me because when a lot of our customers or generally when you talk about sustainability, people think of decarbonization, but Evan and the solution that Altana has built is looking at supply chains more holistically. And so I find it is a very impressive opportunity to look at sustainability in a unique way. So maybe tell a little bit more about why that's important on taking action, Evan.
Yeah, well, there's a confluence of things beyond the sort of prerogative of making the world better for all of us. There are government requirements, both in the US and in the European Union, the United Kingdom, Australia, and really sort of sweeping the world, which are requiring the disclosure and the mitigation of impacts associated with a range of sustainability impacts, from greenhouse gas emissions to forced labor or labor rights abuses in the supply chain, to deforestation and other ecological devastation. So the pressure is on the private sector now to first gain visibility over what their existing business looks like, and then what their extended business network looks like with respect to the supply chain of products. And then the same thing is happening at the investor level. So for publicly traded companies, there's been a real sea change in the last 3 to 4 years, where some of the largest asset managers in the world, Blackstone, the pension fund of Japan, so $1 trillion asset allocators, are finally requiring that publicly traded companies disclose their sustainability impacts, just like they disclose their financial results. And that's a license to do business and be eligible for the fund flows of these $1 trillion allocators. And that trend is increasing, not decreasing. So, there's a regulatory dimension and there's an investor dimension. And I think finally there's a customer dimension, where customers, especially younger customers, are demanding transparency into the products that they consume and purchase and wear. And all roads lead to, thou shalt know your supply chain, and thou shalt disclose the sustainability profile of your business and your extended business.
I think your solution is super interesting, and one of the things that sparked my interest is you guys. Your solution also gave visibility into the supply chain for vaccines. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's not specific to any one lens. What we're doing is we're illuminating the multi-tier network of production from raw materials to intermediate goods through to finished products. And that applies really across any dimension. So you can look at it through a sustainability lens, which is what we're talking about today, but you can also look at it from a business continuity lens. Like, can I deliver critical vaccines to customers across an international cross-border supply chain network? It also has national security lenses, and it has lenses around sort of business continuity, as in the case of the vaccine. So what we're doing is we're illuminating the network itself and then providing analytics and decision support on top of that network from any one of those lenses.
Yeah, and so I mentioned earlier, I come from a security background, and so I love poking and prodding at how we can secure pretty much everything that connects to the internet. And it looks like you guys have something that secures supply chains through some sort of artificial intelligence and analytics. Can you just touch on that real quick? Because that seems very unique and interesting.
We're using a federated learning model to bring together publicly available data and bring that into contact with non-public data at scale in order to derive the shape of the supply chain network and then risk and opportunity insights on top of the network. So we use artificial intelligence both to derive, the network map of, what products go where between which companies at which points on Earth. And we do that across billions and billions of data points at the transaction level, at the corporate record level, and other data types. And then finally, once we have that network view of the world, we use artificial intelligence to generate those insights. So, again, everything from situating greenhouse gas point source emissions onto a map, looking at known bad forced labor and labor rights violations within the map, and situating that within a customer-specific product view. So it's really a two-step process with machine learning to both build the model of the world and then to generate insight on top of it.
Yeah, because I know one of the big things that's really come up in the last couple of years is supply chain security, especially when we start talking about like embedded chipsets to provide hardware security modules to really just make infrastructure much more secure and immutable. And so it sounds like you have this way of being able to determine if there's illicit activity going on, but also if there's unsavory activity with the supply chain going on as well.
Yep. Yeah, we're building a kind of dynamic, intelligent view of the physical supply chain universe. What we aren't doing is the same thing with respect to code. So we're not doing software supply chains, which is another kind of hot area right now. And we're not doing that with respect to financial transactions, which is another way to kind of follow the network. So we're focused on the physical world today, which is biting off a whole lot to chew. But you can see the complementarity of those other use cases all kind of building a unified view.
Yeah, super interesting. And if we bring that back to kind of sustainability, I mean, I saw that your technology can track it all the way back from like the bill of sale for materials, right? And I think it's kind of interesting that companies can have a view in that complete supply chain all the way from the beginning. It's probably really unique and some powerful information for them, right?
Yeah, if we have the time, I'd love to show a video that brings it all to life. We've actually prepared a product demo video that will illustrate everything we just talked about, specifically with the lens of labor rights in the supply chain network.
So let's take a look.
So let's see if I can use the tool correctly here. I'm going to just push play. Is this coming through for everybody?
There it is. We got it.
All right, let's try the video. maybe a little help from the studio. I've got the video loaded. There we go.
In this example, I'm a supply chain manager at Uniqlo, an international apparel company that sources textile items from factories in several countries and imports them all over the world. Today, I want to know whether or not the manufacture of any Uniqlo products has potential ties to forced labor activity. This effort would normally involve a long and expensive project, but with the Altana Atlas, I can initiate this investigation with a quick search of my company name. When I search the Altana Atlas for Uniqlo, I'm presented with a list of search results, much like a Google search. And I can see the top result for Uniqlo Company Limited is likely the most relevant. Clicking into this result takes me directly to a knowledge graph view where I can explore Uniqlo's supply chain relationships. In this view, Uniqlo is the top node on the graph, while the nodes below represent companies that have either sent to or received shipments from Uniqlo. Those shipments are represented by these links or edges that connect the nodes. Uniqlo is a large company with a lot of global trade relationships, which can be overwhelming. To make the review more manageable, I'll add a filter to reflect only those relationships with the most recent activity. This reduces the number of entities in my network, making it easier to continue my analysis. With this narrowed view, I can explore any of these supply chain relationships to learn more about who these companies are, who they trade with, and if any of their relationships could pose a potential threat to my business. For example, perhaps I'm interested in the supplier Gioco Denoa. When I click on this company, a summary of their business appears on the right sidebar. And when I click on the edge that links them to Uniqlo, I see the number of shipments transacted with access to a table of detailed information about those transactions. I can also explore which other companies this supplier is engaged with and look for any potential risk flags in their network that could be harmful to my business. However, to determine the sustainability profile of a company, it's not enough to simply understand their business relationships. So not only has Altana constructed Uniqlo's extended supply chain relationships, but it has likewise constructed the more granular, multi-tier value chains that make up those relationships. With one click into the value chain screen, I'm presented with Uniqlo's multi-tier value chains. In this view, Uniqlo's company facilities are represented as the Tier 0. The Tier 1 represents Uniqlo's direct suppliers. These are largely the manufacturers we source finished goods from. From the Tier 1, we can derive their suppliers at the Tier 2 and their suppliers at the Tier 3 and so on. For the first time, I have visibility beyond my direct Tier 1 relationships. And this view traces the flow and transformation of inputs from raw materials to the finished product, linking manufacturers to their suppliers and their suppliers, so I can see beyond the entities producing Uniqlo garments to those suppliers who are making the fabrics and spinning the yarns, all the way to growing the cotton or extruding the synthetic materials. And it didn't require that I manage any manual questionnaires or surveys. The Altana Atlas did all the hard work for me. Most sustainability goals, like climate, carbon, natural resource consumption, regulatory compliance, or human rights, will require starting from this granular view in order to see how their supply chains align with relevant commitments. But because I'm focused on forced labor today, I'm going to filter these value chains for the specific risk type that we are looking for. This filter works because not only did the Altana Atlas construct Uniqlo's multi-tier value chains, it simultaneously screened the entities in those chains for potential forced labor exposure. Right away, I can see that there are several Uniqlo chains that may be compromised, as indicated by the warning flags visible here at the Tier 2 and 3 level. To make this view even more manageable, I can filter for a specific supplier let's say Shenzhen. So I can focus on understanding how this company out at the tier 3 level may be relevant to my business. Altana has made it easy to connect these risk dots. By clicking on the warning indicators, we have access to an explainer that tells us Shenzhen Huafu was flagged because they are linked to companies located in Xinjiang, China, which is a region subject to forced labor restrictions. This explainer also provides links to the supporting source citation, which can save hours of manual research later.
Well, that was awesome. One, I love that you had such a thorough demonstration, and two, it wasn't based off of just like fictional data sets. This was actually, a manufacturer that is real and showing how they can investigate their supply chain for something that might be unsavory as they develop their products and sell to consumers. That was impressive.
Thank you.
All right, friends. Well,
I think we're near the end. So, do you have any final thoughts, things you'd like to share about how you're going to have sustainability and where you see this implementing into the supply chain in the future to help businesses better understand where it is that they are, sourcing their materials and just creating a better way of providing products to consumers that might not have any conflict associated with it, and just making sure that justice is being done across every part of that source. Where do you see you guys going in the next couple of years?
Is that one to me?
Yeah, that's to you, Evan.
I'm sorry, there's a little bit of an echo there. So our parent concept for Altana, the vision we have for the world is that we can build a new phase of globalization that's defined by trusted networks. So today we have an outsourcing-driven supply chain, which obscures the supply chain network beyond your direct buyer or supplier relationship. What we're doing is we're clearing away the fog, and we're providing the intelligence and decision support, and we're providing a whole lot of functionality for connectivity and collaboration across the network. The goal over time is help enterprises, logistics providers, and government build connected to other business.
So where can everybody go to learn more? I think
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, Kyle. I know you guys have a lot of background there at reInvent. I'm very jealous that you're on the floor there. Amazing. But Evan, maybe a little bit of details where people can find out more, and of course they can always reach out through here. But you've got a call to action, a contact.
Of course. Go to our website. It's altana.ai. altana.ai. Lots of case studies there, data sheets on different segments, and get in touch with us through the contact form on the website if you'd like to see a product.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks so much, Evan. Really appreciate you coming on and telling us more about Altana. We're watching closely. A lot more to come.
Thank you so much for having me, everybody.